Good evening and welcome to the fourth round of our PPG IndyCar World Series Championship. Coming to you tonight from the beautiful circuit that is the complete brain fade for whatever the umpteenth time. The beautiful circuit of Long Beach in what I think is California. The Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. This is the 1987 championship race, and it's going to be an absolute blinder based on the qualifying times I've seen so far on the server. It is extremely tight all through the field. But the track itself, as mentioned, the Long Beach Street Circuit, it is 1.67 miles long, which equals, give or take, 0.01 of a kilometer, 2.69 kilometers. And the drivers will be going for 95 laps, which is going to equal about 158.5 miles. To be precise, 158.65 miles, but that's being very, very specific about the length. The track itself, different layout to what it has today, but nonetheless just as much of a challenge, especially from what I've seen in practice here. The opening trio of turns there, the right, left, right, and as well the very quick kink before going on to the what is also nowadays the back straight is going to be quite the hassle, shall we say. In terms of the points after round 3, we have Thiago Canola leading the championship on 42 points. Vadim Tachak, who had a bit of a lackluster and bit of a scary race, I suppose one could say, is still in second in the championship though, 4 points back on 38. Richard Coxson, who I believe missed, no, he didn't miss the last race, he retired early, is third in the championship on 37 points, 1 point back from Vadim, 5 points back from the championship lead. David Yates is fourth in the championship on 25 points, and Richard Wilkes, the ever consistent Wilkes, is currently fifth in the championship on 20 points. And considering what this race is likely to turn into, let's give you the trivia question right away. For this race we have a question regarding this 1987 race back in real life, and the question being, who came home fourth in the 1987 Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach despite losing his right front wing at the start and then having difficulty with his left front wing later in the race? Was it A. Alonso Jr., was it B. Michael Andretti, or was it C. Rick Mears? I had a stab in the dark at this and I amazingly got it right, so it is possible to guess even though you may not be entirely sure of the correct answer. Let's have a look. As well, before qualifying is over, we have some fuel allotments and tire allotments for this race, which goes as follows. For the race, each car is limited to 94 US gallons, or if you're using the metric system, 358 liters of fuel. For the tires, just like it was at Portland and at Meadowlands last time out, each driver has 4 sets of tires to work with for the entire event, that event being qualifying, warm-up and race. And based on the fuel targets I was given, it's a 2-stop race, so it's 3 stints. So it's a question of, do you want a very high qualifying starting position, or do you go for one run and save 3 fresh tires for the race? That is the question pondered by our drivers, and I'm sure there will be as many answers to that ponderment as there'll be answers to it. Heading out to the track now, we just had Matheus da Silva go past the camera. And we now have Thiago Canola, who's actually on pole for the moment, coming up here. Well, let's see where Ray is on track. He's coming around the last little section here, so let's see if he goes for another lap and ride on board with Riddle Senior here. Looks like he's likely to do so, so he goes down the front straight. A very quick shoot. Up into top gear. Curved front straight, just like it is nowadays, but then it's an early brake. A very quick right. Try to avoid the wall as you then go left around the wall. And then onto the road again for a quick, almost hairpin right-hander. Into a very quick right-hander, and then we have a sweeping left into a curved braking zone into almost a 100-degree left, right, then a left, and then we have a quick sweeping kink into what is the run onto the back straight. Very easy to hit a wall on the outside there. And then down the back straight and into this famous right-hander where we've seen many thrills and spills over the years. And then into the sweeping, curving left-hander, very long. Feels like it takes forever. And then the very, very tight hairpin onto the start-finish straight. Leading on to another lap here for Ray. Oh, that's a wall strike, so I think that's his run over in total. It looks like probably most of our drivers is actually finished. Yep, so that means Thiago Canola will take pole here in the Machinists Union Racing entry, which I think, based on the top end there, that is a old March. So very impressive lap time there. And while we wait for the driver's briefing to take place, I reckon we'll have a quick look around the track just for the, what's around the track as a total. No problem, BL. Good evening to you too. Or I suppose it would be early afternoon for you, BL. As I'm joined in the booth by, I'd assume, is Alberto. Good evening, Alberto.
Yeah, it's me. Hello, Jonathan. Hello, everybody. Pleased to be here as usual.
It's definitely going to be an interesting race, isn't it? Qualifying
Well,
was
it's
really
going to be
tight.
quite exciting, interesting, exciting. I think that there is no shortage of things we can say about this race, because we have all the things that we need here to have absolutely the biggest top excitement. We have unforgiving walls. We have that coupled with some very high speeds there in the main straight. We have a long race. Drivers having to watch out for the temperatures, for the tires, for the fuel use, for everything, especially traffic. we've said it many times, it's a street course, and that means unforgiving. Walls are very close, so any crash can be absolute disaster. And on top of that, you have to watch out for many other things, as I've just mentioned. So, well, I think it's absolutely great what we're going to see tonight.
Definitely so. This is one of those tracks you go to and you think, how do they even race here? But somehow they manage it. I'm just letting the cameras pan a little bit around this place. It's absolutely gorgeous, this track.
Yeah, we put a lot of effort here. We spare no efforts. We did a good, I think, a quite good recreation of how it looked like in the 80s, from the cockpit view, from the cameras and all that, and it gives you that ambience that we wanted to convey, because street tracks are normally quite narrow things. We've seen Monaco and all that, and I remember very well how Jason White, when he visited Monaco, he said that when you're looking there to the track, to the turns, to everything, and you say, "Oh my God, this is so much tighter than in real life." And in this case here in Long Beach, we're looking at that, and the people who have been there, I haven't been, but I've been talking to people who have been there. They say, well, okay, I mean, the twisty section, it is indeed narrow, but the big avenue, well, that thing is something different. And you can like overtake there. All of the passing is likely going to happen there. But even if it's a street course, it's somehow deceiving, because you have that very long main straight, and then you have that big backstretch that was made even quicker on later years. That point where you are panning out now, that was removed back then in the 90s, and they made it a continuous thing, so it was even quicker because you had basically a long front stretch and a long back stretch. Here we have the version where they are going along the parking lot in the Hyatt, and that makes it a bit slower. You have that twisty section there, but still, so it's, I would say, quite quick for for a street course, and it's going to be quite interesting to see, because on one hand you're going quick, on the other hand that twisty section is going to make the engines overheat a lot. So be prepared for anything here in terms of failures, engine failures, mechanical failures, and let's see.
And it's especially noticeable with the tightness, as we're looking now where the cars are heading on to what is the entry to the back straight. We can see, looking from turn, what would that be, like turn 13, 14, you can see that there are road that you can run on, but there's like an overhang for like a building's interlocking, so they actually had to have the barrier closer to the middle of the road as it is in normal traffic. So it's a
Yeah, in this
very tight
particular road,
exit there.
yeah, in this particular road, what you can see is that there are the pillars there holding the bridge that goes over the strait. So they obviously had to somehow lock that thing, avoid the cars from getting in there. So it becomes very narrow there, 2 lanes, 2 normal traffic lanes. And after the bridge, which is the one that connects the parking lot
Ouch.
with the theater there, yeah, it becomes
That's
wider. Yeah.
that's one of those where you turn in, I reckon, a little bit early for that right-hander, clip the inside wall, and it's effectively a hello outside Barry. I've missed you.
Yeah. That's one of those things that you don't want to do too much in the race. I mean, you can like gracefully glance the wall once or maybe twice, but if you're doing it too much, then you're going to basically bend the suspension, and that's absolutely race over here.
For sure. And I reckon on top of where the passing will be, I believe that we might see some passing in this final section here, that with the right-hander that's seen a lot of frills and spills off the back straight, where people may have a small go, and then obviously into the hairpin where I think it was last year in the United Sports Car Championship, or WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, I think it's called nowadays, where someone had a dive, contact was made, and I think there were 15 to 20 cars in traffic jam just trying to find a way to, well, where am I supposed to go here? Is there a hole here? Which if we're really unlucky, we might unfortunately have that happen today. I mean, outbrake yourself, and that's exactly what happens there, because there's no room to get out of the way.
Yeah, real pacing, and by real passing I mean for position with a track that is more or less, with a car, sorry, that is more or less on your pace. That's basically going to happen at the end of the straight. Okay, that's the prime passing point, unless there is an error. Any passing that we see here on the backstretch is going to be due to either a very, very skillful move or some error on the part of one of the cars. Because on the backstretch, you're exiting that chicane and it's straight, but it's really, really short. So probably not enough to gain momentum there for a pass unless the guy in front was very nervous and you made him cause a lot of wheel spin. And in that case, yes, you can use that straight to enter because it's quite wide the way that they entered to the right into the parking lot before they go for the hairpin. So that could be passing there, but it's going to be, like I say, based on the error of the people in front.
Definitely so. We can see that Oscar Tim back in the championship for another race, and I noticed Dave Miller partaking of this, and Anders Nilsson driving the SDP-sponsored Patrick car, I believe that is.
Yes.
This
That's
race.
a car that he's sharing with his friend Lee Moore. And in this situation, in this occasion, he's going to step in the car. Lee is more of an oval guy, even if he also likes road races, but he basically made that deal with Anders about driving mostly in the ovals because for Anders the ovals are a bit more tiresome. So Lee enjoys them more, and he's going to pick the car in those situations. And well, here is Anders now. And I'm looking now at the timetables, and there is Richard Coxson on top, followed closely by Vadim Tasiak. It seems that the race pace is about 1:08-ish. That's what it seems from what they are doing right now. Kyle Wesser, who didn't have that much great qualifying, is however now third with very, very competitive lap times. That's good to see.
Well, it could very well be that he was using only one set of tires as well, and now just getting a heat cycle into a second set, and that'll be him.
You can't
set
ignore
for the
that
race.
fact that there is limited tires and that the wisest guy, or at least the less daredevil types, they are basically going to save the tires for the race instead of going for the glory of the pole position or whatever. But yeah, it's going to be a rather long race. I think it's 95 laps here.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more than enough time, ample time here to blow your engine, to be suffering from traffic and many other situations.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Well, there is still 1 minute to go. Do you think we can follow someone like maybe Vadim Tatiak or Dave Miller, who are about to start the lap? And then we can explain the track to our viewers.
We can ride for another lap here. Dave Miller on board, going on the Toyota banner, and Dave Miller now starts another lap down this curved front straight, and you have a fairly short braking zone here for a very quick right-hander, curving around these barriers here, concrete, around that left hand, and then a nearly hairpin right. Very important with the traction. Then this very quick right-hander between the barriers still. Quick kink and then a curved braking zone. Oh, as Kowalski has stopped there. Oof! Very tight right-hander as well. And then a very deceiving left-hander under the bridge. Then curved left and then this very tight exited right-hander under the overhang there. And then down the back straight into the second heaviest braking zone, I'd say, for the race. And then onto this parking lot, very long sweeping left-hander, goes on forever, and then the quick brake and tight hairpin onto the front straight once again.
Yeah, and probably what many people could not appreciate directly because of the speed is the amount of bumping that there is here in this track, especially coming out of the hairpin. and it's going to play a role here because if you are eager with the throttle because you're following another car and you want to have that run down the main street, which is the one that allows you to overtake, you might very well overcook it here with the throttle and spin there in the hairpin, trying to out accelerate the other car.
It's definitely possible. And I gotta say, Dave Miller's 31 very much reminds me of the. It's not the AGS, it's the. From 1991 Italian, I think, base team. One car. The Coloni.
Osella? No, okay.
The
Colony,
Coloni's
yeah.
color scheme, that car, the 31, really reminds me of that particular color scheme. As we're just waiting for the field to come onto the start-finish straight. And we'll go through what the field is looking like. As we can see, presumably some drivers realizing, oh, that's the wrong set of tires or wrong amount of fuel in the car. And just getting some small bits and pieces sorted out. Because this is effectively the parade lap and preparing to get to the grid time. It's, I think, 1 minute in game you have to finish everything in terms of fuel, last minute adjustment, tires, and things
Yeah, and
like
everybody
that.
basically about uses up the most of that time because otherwise you will be with your engine overheating there in the grid.
Indeed. So
there is unfortunately no gentleman start your engines command here. When you go to the grid, your engine is already on.
Indeed.
So here we go.
Yep, so Canola will be starting from pole in the Machinists Union Racing entry. Second on the grid will be Vadim Tachak in the RCR Racing number 12. Another great qualifying for Vadim. Richard Coxson lines up third for True Sports. Good recovery after his woes at Meadowlands last time out. Grant Vidal with a... that's not a late entry. And the number 18 Craig Racing car, raced by Michael Andretti in the real life series. David Yates lines up fifth for Doug Shearson Racing in the Domino's Pits Up sponsored car. Richard Wilkes again missed consistent.
What's up with Vadim Tachak? He stopped on the track and he quit.
Oh dearie me, don't tell me he blew his engine.
No, I don't know. Something will happen there. Anyway, the rest of the field is now threading behind the safety car. They are already coming to the parking lot in the Hyatt.
Yep.
This is really, really weird.
Well, we'll look through the field and we'll see if there's anything going on. Richard Wilkes for Hemmelgarn is 6th, with Kyle Weser lining up 7th for Leadcard Racing. Ray Riddall will line up 8th for Newman Haas, with Anders Nilsson 9th for Vince Granatelli Racing. And Alberto Jr. running out the top 10 in the Penske Racing. I think that's a Penske he's driving tonight.
Yeah, it's a Penske PC15. That's the ill-fated car that they had to shelf later because it didn't work so well.
Indeed.
But anyway, yeah.
So Adam Hackman 10th with David Saber 11th. Jakob Frederickson line up 12th with John Team 13th. Brian Yannick 14th with Juha Bors in 15th. Kyle McKeels will line up 16th with Francisco Amaral in 17th. Sasoj Lapinski 18th, so a bit of a lackluster qualifying for him. Jason Fitch 19th, pretty decent qualifying for him, I'd say.
And the safety car is now going into the pits.
Oscar Team 21st, Chacon 22nd, Da Silva 23rd, White 24th, Kowalski 25th, White 26th, and Rocha 27th.
And there's the green flag. There's the green flag. They are racing at Long Beach now. And Canola was waiting for the green flag, and Grant Ridal basically jumped him there, same as Richard Coxson nearly did. David Jex has a great run but wasn't able to finally make it.
Oh, and look at that! Thiago Canola with a fantastic outbraking maneuver.
Yeah, not intimidated at all by Grant outrunning him at the start.
Oh, and a bit of contact there between Bors and Frederickson. Frederickson held up quite a bit. Oscar Tim and Kowalski with a bit of contact as well. But it looks like everyone got through the opening chicane section all right. So Canola leads, Grant Vidal in second. And Coxson in third, Yates up into fourth. Wilkes fifth, and the rest following behind. Oh, Canola with a very slow change there, and Oh, dearie me!
Oh, Jesus! That was Grant hitting there. Probably I think there was
That
a
was
missed
Coxson.
here or something like
Yeah.
that by Canola, and they were all surprised by that.
Oh, and Yakes up the inside of Coxson, and Yakes takes away second place as well. Wowee. It looks like Grant Riddall has dropped almost to, what is that, 15th place now. So that's a very costly situation for him.
That's going to hurt him big time, because I would gather from what I was seeing that he, as usual, might be light on fuel and eyeing an extra pit stop compared with the other cars. And when you're in traffic, that's about the worst situation possible if you're going for that strategy.
That's definitely true, and I think Jason Fitch just took 18th away from Kevin McKeels there at the end of the front straight.
And Thiago Canola already opening a bit of a gap here, 1.1 seconds. I mean, he's doing his own usual Wayne Rainey impersonation. I mean, he takes off and says, "He who can follows me," and it's usually nobody.
Indeed so.
So the field now stretching up a bit. We got an ongoing battle there between two Swedes. That's Anders Nilsson in 8th and Jakob Frederickson in 9th. John Tim is the next Swede. He's in 10th. Then comes Little Al, Adam Hackman. Yeah, okay, they are spreading a bit now.
Yeah, it looks like everyone is more or less finding their feet in what kind of race pace and race car they've got at the moment, and just settling into their groove.
Mm-hmm. Thiago Canola, unfaced, seems to be looking at opening a bit more of the gap even. David Jakes is after him. Same as Coxson. I wonder if Coxson has any damage from that crash, well, that shunt with Grant Vidal. I just hope that isn't the case.
It could certainly be possible. It looks like the Swedes, they're running a little bit higher wings than what UR Bose is doing, because Bose pulled away down the front straight, but right now in the twisty section, Anders is right up his gearbox, looking for a way past the Renault Racing driver. Ooh, Frederickson looking up the inside, I think. Wow.
Yeah, they are getting really antsy behind him. Juha is now causing a bit of a traffic jam.
Oh, Anders with a great run off that corner. I think he's got a chance at the end of the back straight here.
Yeah, but this is a situation that we were mentioning when we were having a look at the track. I mean, it's either you make a big error there, or you are not going to lose your position in that short straight. This time, it could be very different, though. Although, if Juha, as you say, has a lower wing, then he can protect himself rather well. And that seems to be the case here.
And based on how he's pulling away, even though Anders is in that slipstream, that definitely looks to be right where the money for the Renault entry is lying here.
Oh my goodness. I just saw in the chat for Vadim that it seems that his steering wheel died.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And he's second in the championship ahead of this round. That's really unfortunate.
Oh, I can believe that. That's really a shame. I was looking forward so much to see what he could do here, because if anything, Vadim is the guy who does here the most thorough preparation, always. So, well, that's a shame.
Definitely so, and Bose with a mistake at the end of the back straight. Nilsson going around the outside in the parking lot, left-hander, and then Frederickson nipping up the inside of Bose as well.
Yeah, there you go. That's the mistake that they were looking for.
Yep, but
Oh
let's
man,
see.
that's a real drag race between Frederickson and Boss here.
Ooh, it looks like Ferguson might just be able to make it with the slipstream from Anders Nilsson there. So Swede helping Swede, and Ferguson indeed breaking up the inside. Oh, still with an overlap though. Ooh, that's very close to the barriers there, but looks like Ferguson and Nilsson makes position there, and Bo's back to 9th. Oh, and I think he clipped the inside barrier too.
And just for reference for everybody, they were doing nearly 180 mph at the end of that straight. I mean, imagine that on your average street on the city where you live.
I'd rather
That's
not.
How
Oh, Canola under
that's
attack.
how these guys arrived there.
Oh, and that's a lap car off the track, my bad. But Canola under huge attack by both Coxson and Yakes. Yakes up the inside in the hairpin. Coxson looking for the cutback. Coxson with the best run off the corner, but let's see if he's left anywhere to go. Doesn't look like it. So Yakes on the inside, Canola on the outside. Who has the best top speed of the two? Looks like Yakes for the time being.
Meanwhile, it seems that Jason went crashed there and is stuck. He's trying to reverse the car. He has no front wing. Oh, GG. Okay.
That's unfortunate.
He can make it now. He can make it now. Yeah.
Well, good to hear.
He's going for repairs.
Yep, but good to hear he was able to get going once again.
Making room there for the other cars. Mateus da Silva is meanwhile out of the race. And David Jakes in the lead. He seems to have passed Canola. Coxson is now trying to do the same.
Yakes passed him down the front straight. They went 3 wide into the final hairpin, and Yakes came out on top.
Bad because I was looking at the other action.
Yep, no problem. Coxson, let's see what he has for a run here and through sports entry. And not too far behind is Richard Wilkes, who's eyeing this up and thinking, "Go on, boys, get at it." And it looks like Coxson is indeed going to try and get at it. Looking up the inside down the front straight.
But I would say that was a bit too quick. I mean, obviously Coxson, when going out of the hairpin, he was quicker than Canola, and that's the reason that he went out of the slipstream. But that wasn't enough. Probably he should have waited a bit more, use his top speed to his advantage using the slipstream towards the end of the straight. I don't think that this is going to happen twice, and in the next lap I'm betting that Coxson will be sticking for a longer time behind Thiago.
It's definitely a possibility unless Canola makes a mistake here before they get to that front straight. Canola leading the championship at the moment by 3 points. 4 points it is. The lead. Coxson 5 points behind him, so this is a championship battle.
They're picking much more leverage there at the exit. He left himself a bit more of a gap, and he's probably now trying to go for the slipstream in this one.
Well, I think he got a bit too loose though coming off the hairpins. I don't think the idea was there, but the execution was not quite up to the level it needed to be. Got a bit too loose.
Or rather, maybe Canola saw it coming and he upped the boost because he's closer to Jakes now.
Could definitely be the case as well. I'm really impressed by Kyle Vesa in that older car as well as Canola, has to be said. Both of them doing very well to be up in the top 5. Looks like Nilsson and Frederickson as well is making headways on Ray Riddall in a battle for what will be 6th, 7th and 8th. Oh, and Ray Riddall strikes the outside barrier going onto the back straight. So it looks like Nilsson will have an opportunity here to go past. Ooh, not able to make it work though. And Jonatan has also found his way past Juha Bo, so 3 Swedes now past Juha, who's dropped to 10th, and I notice in background Grant Vidal has made his way up into 11th.
And Cesarius Lapinski, after stopping for repairs, seems to have quit.
Well, presumably
probably got damage on the car there.
Presumably too much too much damage to be safe to run. Late entry in the hands of Brian Yannick in one of the Penske's, doing very decent for the car in 13th. Currently, I believe, looks like, yeah, he's currently the best placed Penske in the race in 13th.
Yeah, Little Al is right behind him. He was 11th, but he dropped. I don't know, maybe some kind of error or whatever. Okay, let's see what Coxson does now. I'm not sure if he's happy to follow Thiago, but whatever the case, David Jakes is now disappearing into the distance, so they both should better be taking care of that. For Frederickson and Nilsson, the battle continues. They are coming now. Oh, they are still, sorry, behind Rai Ridal. Big gap then to Jonatan and Juha Boss. Then comes Grant Ridal.
Ray Ridal still holding strong.
Yeah, the problem for him is that even if he doesn't want to make it hard for the other guys, he has the Chevy engine and a decent chassis. And that means that there are not that many opportunities for the other guys to overtake him. You can be quicker over a lap, but you can still be basically stuck behind another car if he is really quicker than you in the main street.
I suppose it's a question of trying to pit a lap or two before him or a lap or two after him and try to run faster for those 2, maybe 3 laps, and then pit off sequence with Ray than to try and make the pass that way, because as you say, it might be nigh impossible to pass him out on track. Although Anders is now really close, looking for the inside run, not able to make it though. And let's actually jump on board with Jakob Frederickson here, looking forward towards Nilsson and Ridal ahead as they try to navigate this concrete canyon that Long Beach circuit is.
And it seems, I would say, that Canola has got the hang of how to fend off Richard in the hairpin before they go to the main street, because I can see that in the last laps there has been quite some gap between them when they are coming to the main street. Although it could obviously also be a case of Richard being happy with the pace because they are actually not losing David Yates and playing the waiting game.
Could definitely be the case. Looks like Jason White is back out on track after the repairs, which is nice to see. Ooh, yes, Anders Nilsson has a bit of a lose ahead of Ferguson here, behind Ridal still. I don't know if that's Anders just showing, come on, let me pass, this is madness, or if that is him having a bit of a lose and then trying to catch him and catch the car. I'm not entirely sure, but that was definitely some kind of weaving back and forth on the track. Possibly also trying to unsettle Ray as much as he can.
This must be a really, really annoying situation for Anders, because he knows that he's quicker than the car in front, but it's absolutely impossible to pass him. And at the same time, you've got another car on your toes, making your life miserable.
Indeed so. As traffic is starting to find the leading cars, that was Whited and Luciano Roja fighting for position and having to let the leading cars by. And then
Coxson
obviously
very close there on the exit, but okay, let's see, because Let's see if he can do something about this, because he now seems to have a good run. He's looking at the outside.
Could have enough of a slingshot. He's definitely later on the brakes, trying to go around outside. Ooh, being left just enough room.
This is the one that Coxson actually wanted.
Oh, this is close. Still side by side, going into turn 4.
Wow, amazing.
Wow.
Amazing. Great pass on the outside there. Because I was looking at that and I was thinking what Coxson really wants is not the first turn, but to be on the inside of the second one. And he was able to basically go in parallel all the time through that thing. That's amazing. Really, really skillful move there.
And just the skill from Thiago, I'd say, to not put Coxson in the wall either. Both of them giving each other enough room and enough respect to be able to make that work for both of them. Absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. I don't think that was even a millimeter left between both cars there. And now it seems to be Wilkes who doesn't want to lose that train, and he's trying to go there for catching up with Thiago.
I reckon he was catching up for the last few laps, and knowing Richard, he has a very good setup for the long run and keeping the tires on the car. I want to remember him being very fast late on in the stint at Meadowlands, and that being a street circuit and this being a street circuit, I reckon that could very well be the same case here.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe one should put it more towards he has a pace he's running at, and as everyone else falls off the pace they can run at, which might be a little bit quicker early on, he remains at the same pace all the way through the stint. To some extent, as unfortunately Jan Kowalski has also retired from the race. Ooh, as Keo McKeels unfortunately strikes the wall hard, that car looks... That definitely looked like a bit of a hefty hit. Ooh, that Honda-powered Gallus Racing entry is not looking very happy on the power.
So now there's our leader, David Jakes, is coming to the very twisty section behind two slow cars, and that's going to hurt him bad time, because Richard Coxson is catching up quickly now. I mean, there he is. The lap cars are making room for him. But that must have hurt, even if he still has a gap of nearly 2 seconds. But look at that. I mean, he's boxed there behind Bruno.
Generally speaking,
Bruno can do much. He's opening the gap now.
Yeah, and
very well done by Jason Fitch now. But look at that. I mean, Coxson, we were talking about that 2 seconds gap, and now it's 1.2.
It's one of those things with, especially street circuits, there's very little room to make room in most places. I mean, this front straight, sure, you can make room. And like back straight, yeah, sure, you can make room. But in like the twisted section where he caught the cars, and then once he got past Fitch and then had to try and find a way past Brun Chacon, I mean, Chacon was driving his line, and there's just no way to go past until there's more room to do it.
And something must have happened to Anders Nilsson while he was trying to overtake Ray Ridal, because it's now Ray Ridal followed by Jacob Frederickson and John Tim, and Anders Nilsson fell behind both of them.
Let's see. Oh, he had a spin. He span in the right-hander after the back straight. Typical thrills and spills. Looks like just a bit too much power, a bit too much speed maybe. Trying to put the power on a bit early there, and the car just went on him.
And Jason Whitehead is stopped now at the parking lot.
Oh, I just caught it. There he is. Same place. Lost the front wing by the looks of things, so looks like he has decided to park the car instead of trying to rejoin. That's unfortunate, but that's... Again, that turn is... There's been so many retirements in that turn over the years.
Yeah, not the best moment to do this, Jason Whitehead. No. Okay, he's reversing now out of the racing line. Okay, the complicated situation was just solved.
Oh, I was looking at the wrong car. That was, I think that may have been Jason White that I caught then. With a
Yes,
similar
Whited.
issue in a different...
Number 16.
No, I had Jason White as well.
Okay,
In
sorry.
this section with a problem. But that looks like a puncture for Whited too, so... Ooh, this will be scary. You don't want a right front puncture in this left-hander. Especially with faster cars coming around. Nicely done. Ooh.
He's nearly the pits now.
Nicely done, Jason. Good dragging it back to the pits there. That's very unfortunate for both Jasons. Both of them in trouble within a lap or two of each other. But that again also is one of the things with the street course. You have no room to make any kind of mistake.
And let's see, because Anders is now signaling the pits. I wonder if he has damage. No, that must have been the game triggering it for him, but he's continuing. Grant Bridal is right behind him. He's 10th. Then comes Juha Boss, Adam Hackman, Brian Janik, David Saber, and Oscar Tim, who runs up the top 15.
Yeah, and it looks like Thiago Canola has found his pace in the battle for third and fourth, or Wilkes maybe made a mistake. It's from being 1.5, maybe 2 seconds, it's now up to 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been given, by the way, some information, and it looks like the general, like, if you're running the race, like, pretty much full chat, like, looking to battle and gain positions and, like, running fast, it's probably a pit window of 30 to 35 laps a tank. If you're looking to stretch it a little bit and get some bit more fuel out the car every lap, you can probably go for about 40 laps, so you could be in for a very fast sprint at the end for a few drivers.
Mm-hmm.
Owen Frederickson now with some traffic looking for a very neat little opportunity there, and the Ridol hits the barrier hard coming onto the back straight, and it looks like that's the opportunity Frederickson needed to get past. It is. So Frederickson, using a bit of a pick in traffic and forcing Ray into a mistake, takes 6th place away from the Briton. As Alberto Junior, that is, in the Penske. Looks like he may have been in further troubles, down to 20th now, letting the faster cars by on the front straight.
Yeah, it's a wild handling car, and I know Little Al was having a lot of trouble with him. But yeah, he was happy to go for the race here, and he said, I'm not going to do anything stupid, I'm just going to let everybody crash in front of me.
On a street course, that's a very sound strategy to have. The problem is, once you actually get into the race, you can either crash yourself, or you can get drawn into battle still, because once you're in a race, occasionally the little horns grow out your foreheads. And you'll be like, I can go past him, he's right in front of me, I'll go for it. And then
so after dealing with all the traffic, it seems that Coxson is now getting ever closer to David Jakes.
Well, I know for a fact that, that's someone hard into the barrier right in front of the leaders. Even harder into the barrier, that's Keo Michiels, it looked like, unfortunately, off the road without rear tires. That's unfortunately, I think, going to be a retirement for KO. It is. So that's unfortunate. But I do know for a fact that Jakes is fairly courteous and usually waits for the traffic to show where they are going to be before he goes for it. Maybe Coxson is a bit more
or in this
opportunistic
case, for the smoke to clear up.
Indeed. Or it could also be that Coxson's Budweiser True Sports entry is handling a little bit nicer late in this stint. They are roughly 10 laps away from their pit window.
And Jakes is doing today a very good impersonation of the real driver of this car, which was Alancer Jr., who was driving this Domino Pizza's car, and he was very well known for being an absolute master here at Long Beach. He had several continued victories here, and obviously not this year because this year it was Mario Andretti's field. But anyway, I mean, Little Al was always considered to be one of the king of the road courses, especially of Long Beach.
Indeed. And it can be noted in terms of these cars, Yake's driving a March 87, while Coxson is in the Lola T87, so slightly different chassis, so maybe that is also playing a factor into how the cars are handling this late in the stint.
Yeah, none of the cars is really quicker overall than the other one, but the Lola in general is a car that has a bit, and I'm saying a bit because it's a tiny bit. I'm talking here like really like thousandths of a second, hundredths of a second, not even. A bit less drag, so it has a bit of a help there in the top speed or whatever. But then the handling is different, it's peculiar. I know that the drivers who have tried them all say that the March 87 is a more predictable car. It's a car that is more like planted. It has more chassis going on for it. Whereas in the case of the Lola, it's a bit like more nervous thing, probably more akin to a Formula One of the time, somehow, even if these are heavier cars. But in any case, I mean, it's different handling. I mean, any top driver can really make them both go very quick. But they are different indeed. That's the beauty of this physics, that they reflect quite well how the cars are in real life. The difference, I mean.
Indeed, indeed. Well, it'll be interesting to see in a couple of laps how long they can go on a stint. Canola still in third, Wilkes still in fourth, but now way behind Canola and the other two leaders, presumably running to a pace for himself, maybe playing the long game. Kyle Vesa likewise keeping pace with Wilkes.
Richard Wilkes spinning there on the entry.
Oh dear.
He's nearly, I mean, he has right now Kyle Vesa on his toes. Both on the same equipment, March 87 Cosworth, and Kyle Vesa there smelling the blood on the water. He's really, really trying to put pressure on Wilkes now because he knows that Wilkes' tires are right now overheated from that spin.
Indeed,
but Wilkes is blocking him masterfully. I mean, well, the track in that part is hiding a lot, but...
And that's more or less drive your line and no one will be able to go past you. That looked like either a snagged right rear or a slight mistake on a downshift, like locking up the rear because of a misrange in the gearbox, like rev matching mistake in the gearbox, and that's why Wilkes had that half spin in turn one. So that's unfortunate for him, but at least he didn't hit anything, still in the race, still in fourth place.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, we could ask him in the interviews if he comes around later, but I think he's one of the drivers who is actually doing right foot braking. He's doing full heel and toe and all that, so sometimes that might lead you into a situation like this, where on the braking, if you got too much between your hands, or if the brake is slipping from beneath your foot, you can suffer such problems.
Indeed. But it makes for, at least for age-shifting cars, it makes for such a fun experience to actually do the right foot brake and heel and toe on gear changes. But as you say, it's easy to make the mistake, and it's very costly when you make it.
Mm.
So Frederickson 6th and pulling away from Ridol by about 4 seconds now. Jon Team 8th, Anders Nilsson back up into 9th, with Grant Ridol in 10th. Juha Boos 11th, Hackman 12th, Yannick still top Penske in 13th, Saber 14th, Oscar Tim 15th, Dave Miller 16th, Francisco Amaro right behind him, and the second of the Penskes in 17th. Brun Chacon being lapped by Grant Vidal there in 18th, or at least looking to be lapped by Grant Vidal. Jason Fitch in 19th, Alberto Junior in 20th, Rocha 21st, White 22nd, and I believe White is our final runner at this point.
Yeah, and Coxson now keeping their distant second place with David Jakes, probably happy with the rhythm that they are having. And the fact that Thiago is now on third and quite a chunk of time behind is giving me something to think, because I don't believe for any moment that Canola doesn't have the pace to be with those. And the engines in the three cars are the same. It's a Cosworth engine, and the car that Thiago is driving is a March 86, which is not as quick as the 87, but the difference is really small. I mean, it's not something that a driver like Canola cannot overcome. So I'm thinking that probably there is strategy at play here. It wouldn't surprise me much if Thiago is here going for one pit stop less or God knows what.
I would hazard to guess the difference would be similar to what you would see in say V8 supercars of the late 90s, early 2000s, where the lead teams, the Works factory teams, built the cars, and then when they had used them for a year or half a season, they then would sell them off, and the teams lower down would pick them up and be able to run them within probably a tenth, maybe 2/10 of what a factory team could do with the car.
And I saw just for a brief moment, the pit request icon flashing in David Jake's car. He turned it down, but I think that's indicating of the fact that he probably is entering now his own pit window.
Definitely possible, and even likely, because we're now 30 laps into this race and the pit window is 30 to 35 laps, based on what I've heard at least. So it could very well be that maybe Jakes has it set up to be 30 laps, but now the pit window is on again, and it looks like he was set to be able to do one more lap, and it looks like his pit crew is now preparing. No, they are back out again. Maybe some brain games going on here between the Doug Shearson Racing and the True Sports pit crews here.
Yeah, like I said, I believe it's basically a case of Jakes having programmed or told initially he set out the pit crew that from lap 29 onwards he could be pitting. That's what they are signaling in every time he goes by, but he feels confident of having enough fuel for more laps, so he's turning it down. And what's basically going on here is that both Jakes and Coxson are playing chicken. I mean, he who goes first into the pits is going to lose because they are so close together that if you go into the pits now, the other car light on fuel is likely going to... Oh, that's Coxson there in the pits. Okay, so it wasn't that far off. Like I said, the other car, in this case, Jakes, is going to be very light on fuel here. But I think that what Coxson saw coming is that Jakes has a lot of traffic ahead. So watch out, because there are three cars now in front of David Jakes. And he's coming into the twisty section. I think this was a very good call by Richard Coxson. Look at that. I mean,
wow.
Jakes is now in a traffic jam. Oh my goodness, that's going to hurt him big time. Big time. Look at that. I mean, he barely disposed of one car, but he's still behind another two. He's desperate now. Look at that. Ooh. He's throwing the car. Ooh. He realizes what's going on.
Yeah, that might be the masterstroke of the race by Coxson. If he read that to be, we'll catch those three in roughly that section of the track. Now I'll pit now and have a bit of a longer stint this time. Oh, looks like Hackman coming into the pits. Oh no, he hit the... Oh no, Hackman hit the barriers entering the pits. Oh dear, I'm worried that might very well be the race over for him. Smoke emanating from the car as well, and loss of a front wheel, so unless the pit crew is very proficient, I don't think that'll be a
in
Prix.
traffic. He was behind you, boss, this time, and he's desperate. Look at that. He's really at it now, and he's signaling pits. Oh, look at that. I mean, he's very much aware of what's going on, what the stakes are here. He's really forcing it. They're thrashing the car around. Look at that.
Oh, that looks like...
He's going... Oh, and more traffic in front. So, yeah. He better go to the pits now.
That's unfortunately Hackman
that
out
was
of the race.
Very well
indeed.
read by Richard Coxson.
Oh no, Richard Wilkes held up in the pits as well. Kyle Vesa parked in the pit stall in front of him, and Wilkes had to reverse.
So, Jake's now in the pits. Pay attention, because this is what could be very telling of what's going to happen. If he's able to go out in front of Richard Coxson, and I don't think that's going to be the case.
It could be close.
Might be safe for another stint of the race. Oh, I think that's David Sabrahe spun in the hairpin. Okay, Jakes is coming out of the pits now.
And Coxson exiting the final hairpin. This is going to be close.
I thought it would be closer than that.
Maybe Coxson had a slow pit stop.
Oh, Jake's now passing in the pits.
Oh, no!
Oh my goodness. That was over eagerness. Let's see what happens now, because Jakes is still on cold tires.
Oh, whited in the wall as well on the exit here.
Yep.
And that's a tricky part to be, because you need to try and find a way to reverse if the car is still running. But look at this, cold tires, Coxson right behind Jakes now. This is definitely Coxson's opportunity right here. Can he get a run down the back straight? Looks like he can. He's definitely looking up the inside. Ooh. Ooh, he's definitely trying. He's up the inside. Ooh. Oh, but I think Jakes may very well have weathered the storm here.
Hang on, wait. Because they're coming out to the main straight, and Coxson, I think Coxson is going to up the boost here. But no, Jake saw it coming, and no, there's no gain for that. Well, that was close, but remember, that's going to be another pit stop in this race, so the same thing could happen again.
Indeed, and look at this, Canola still out there running. I think he might have switched to a long haul strategy after he was passed early on in this race.
Yeah, Anders now in the pits. He's exiting now. Wilkes and Frederickson now on the main street. Brian Janigan, Jason Whited now to the pits.
Yep, he was in the barriers as the leaders went by turn 3 earlier, and I think he lost his front wing in that altercation.
Whoops,
so
Juha just spun at the exit of the chicane. He crashed and hit the walls sideways, and he crashed and he lost both wings, I think.
Oh dear, definitely both wings, yeah. Oh, ended way too quickly onto the back straight there. That was one of those you flick it in.
Oh my goodness! And Bruno Chacon just, oh my goodness! Oh, yo.
Oh no!
And he crashed Richard Wilkes, I think. Oh, yo.
Well, looks like... Oh, he wasn't alone in that. That was also the number 8 Penske. Is that... I'm unsure. I think that's... Is that Little Al, I think, who got caught up in that as well?
Yeah, that's Little Al. I mean, Bruno was trying to go on the inside of him. He got Little Al and then went sideways, and poor Richard Wilkes was coming from behind, hit him.
It's very
Wilkes
unfortunate
is
for
now
all of
in
them.
for repairs. Yeah, yeah.
Aye, aye, aye. That's very, very unfortunate for them. Brian Yannick into the pits as well. As Saber now climbs into 9th.
Yeah, and Bruno Chagon also with no front wing heading for the pits.
Well, that's a bummer.
Canola, meanwhile, on the lead, and because he has 29 seconds of a lead in front of David Jakes. And like I said, it seems that he's going to be trying to do one pit stop less than everybody else.
Oh, and looks like I missed it. Kyle Vesa has retired.
Yeah, with all the action, we seem to have missed that one.
Let's see if I can possibly bring that back, but it looks like it happened a little while ago. Looks like it unfortunately has happened too long ago for me to be able to bring it up, but that's very unfortunate too. Dear me. So Thiago Canola still in the lead, 30 seconds to lead now as he's running long, looking for the 40 lap limit, or maybe even longer. Maybe he's trying to make it on one stop only, but that would be quite hefty. That's 40. That'd be 47, 48 laps, I reckon. If he were to do it on one stop, that's a very big ask. I suppose we'll have to wait and see. And it looks like indeed, with Coxson and Yates' car is working better on a full tank of fuel, while seems Coxson's car is a little bit better on lower fuel later on in the stint. As Yates is currently pulling a little bit of a gap on Coxson yet again. And with all that action, Grant Midall up into 4th in this race. With Frederickson in 5th now, with Nilsson 6th, Jon Team 7th, Ray Riddall in 8th, so Jon Team passed Ray in during the pit stops. David Saber 9th, Brian Yannick in 10th, so top 10 for the Penske boys at the moment. Jason Fitch in 11th for Gore Racing. Dave Miller 12th for Los Angeles Drywall. Francisco Amaral 13th, Oscar Team 14th. Luciano Rocha 15th. Richard Wilkes still in the pits for repairs. That's going to be a very long repair then, unfortunately. Johan Boos out of the pits after his repair stop in the 17th. Chacon out after his repairs in 18th. And I believe Chacon is not the final runner. Jason White is the final runner still in the pits for repairs as well after his altercation earlier.
Well, that's racing. Anything can and usually does happen.
Very much so. It looks like Thiago is wringing the neck of this old March.
Yeah, he's in the situation he likes. I mean, clear track ahead, and the car behaving as he wants it. On another note, the ones who have picked their ongoing fight are Anders Nissan and Jakob Fredriksson. Jakob is now in 5th, Anders is in 6th, but after all this mayhem and pit stops and everything, they are back on track together. All of them with a full tank, well, no more a full tank, but nearly full tank, fresh tires. And there they are, battling it out.
On a lapped car to contend with there, but Rocha doing a very good job getting out of the way. Yeah, that's unfortunate for you, KO.
And
Interesting note
that's
for...
Wilkes finally out of the pits now.
Oh wow, that's a very hefty repair. That's 18th, so second to last running car at the moment. Note from KO in the chat regarding what you said earlier with the track being bumpy. KO said bumpy as all downstairs at some points. So it's definitely a street circuit in that regard then.
Yeah, it is. And if you look at the old footage, you can see sometimes cars with nearly 4 wheels out of the ground. So it's not as if the real one is not bumpy.
Indeed. It's not
To
quite as
be
bad.
honest, I think it's not even as bumpy as the real one. At least in the parts where there are no big bumps.
Yeah. I mean, while it's bumpy, it was bumpy even in real life, I don't think it quite gets to the level of... I think it was one of the Toronto circuits where they crossed a tram track. Where every time you would see every car up in the air, floor hitting
I'm
hitting
not
the
sure
trams.
if that was Vancouver.
I believe it was, but I might be wrong in that.
Yeah, me too. I don't remember that right now, but yeah, there was some.
Toronto or Vancouver, yeah.
Yeah, not Toronto for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, Canola's in the pits now. That's the leader there.
Probably Vancouver then, as you say.
So 41 laps. I mean, that's not enough. Okay. So I believe what's going on here is that Canola was probably trying to do a one-stop less strategy than everybody else, and he was probably betting on a yellow because if there is a yellow, he could very well do the race on this single pit stop. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is no yellow and he has to do a second pit stop, that's going to be a splash and dash, fresh tires, and that means he's going to be blistering quick at the end of the stint.
Oh, and look at this, already coming out of the pits.
Yeah. He's right behind Coxson now.
And Coxson with a big lockup going into turn 1.
Yeah, he didn't want by any means to have Thiago in front of him with cold tires and a big fuel tank. That would mean absolutely that he was going to hamper him, at least for the first lap.
Indeed, but that was very close to end
Yeah,
of
but
the
at this
race
point,
for
this
him.
all is looking very good for Thiago because he's not really that far behind the lead, and yet he has more fuel and fresher tires.
Indeed. It'll be just interesting to see how this strategy game turns out. I would have expected a few more to actually go for this long haul strategy, but one is enough when it's this far up the grid. And Frederickson now in 4th because Grant Woodall has pitted, so it's now Frederickson 4th.
Grant is actually slot between Frederickson and Nilsson, so he seems to be coming hot from behind.
No, Grant Woodall pitted from 4th, so he came out in 5th, so
okay.
it's
he's
now a battle for position here.
Yeah.
Grant Woodall also doing the long haul run after dropping back early. Oh no, that's Sabe hard in the barrier on the entering the back straight. Oh dear me, he was having a great race too, and that looks like a puncture on the left rear as well. Oh dear me. Hold on to it. That is going to be scary through here. Oh, indeed it is. Ooh, just about.
He moves out of the racing line now, no problem for the cars behind.
I wonder if this is the point where no, okay. I know in real life occasionally they would use the access road, but I'd suppose that the ruling has been that no, it can't be used because it messes up the lapping system maybe.
Yeah, well, I don't think they could use that one in real life too unless they were retiring. If you are going for the pits, then you have to go for the pits properly.
Possibly. I know they've used it occasionally anyway, at least for... I know in endurance races they still today use it when they know that the car will be in the pits for repairs for a while, if nothing else. So that's very unfortunate for David, but it's one of those things in a street course. Once again, one mistake and it can be a very long repair time or even a retirement, as Dave Miller,
Oh,
one
Grand
of
Prix,
driving
they're
10th.
trying to get a good run out of the chicane against Frederickson. That's Well, that's
Looks
going
like
to work,
he's
it seems. I would guess that his boost knob was all the way maxed out at this point.
definitely looks
And
like it, because that was a huge speed difference.
yeah, I mean, don't forget that whatever the pace that we are seeing here of these guys, don't forget that the engines, if overheated, they are going to suffer a lot. And that,
Oh,
Grant going out of control there. I think those are greasy tires overheated. But like I said, don't forget that the engines are going to pay dearly for any abuse on them later on.
indeed.
So this might be absolutely deceiving because whoever has been able to keep up his pace thanks to abusing the engine, I mean, he's not going to finish the race, not by any means.
No, indeed.
So Grant was finally able to make it stick.
Well, that being said, Ferguson is right up his gearbox and rear wing here, so Grant needs a good run. It looks like he got it, so that should be Grant off and away, and the Swedes can resume their battle for 5th and 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Jon Team in 7th as well, with Ray Riddle still in 8th. Brian Yannick up into 9th, with Dave Miller then, of course, up into 10th. In a one-off drive, Francisco Amaral 11th in the second Penske, Oscar Tim in 12th, Jason Fetch in 13th, Luciano Roja getting out of the way of the leader there in 14th. Juha Boos, after a lot of repairs, running 15th at the moment. Saber still in the pits for repairs in the 16th. Chacon 17th. Richard Wilkes still running in 18th, with Jason Whitehead still the final runner in 19th.
And I can see that Jakes goes up to nearly 11,000 RPMs when he's shifting. So it's not as if he's leaving anything on the table.
Well, I'd say if he's only going up to 11, then he is leaving a bit on the table. I've seen a driver or two that's been going up to 11.5, 11.6.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, well, that's already abusing the engine big time, I think. At least in terms of race.
Indeed, indeed.
Because basically these engines go up to 12,000 in qualifying and that. But you still need to take care of the temperatures in the race stream.
Indeed.
It's a shame that we cannot see from here what the temperatures are for the engines. But whatever the case, Jakes is coming now to big traffic again in this twisty section, and Coxson right now was coming closer to him than ever. So I don't know if Coxson is able to read that thing. But yeah, that's Jakes now held up a bit. Pitch made it properly, very well there, but still, I mean, that's the nature of the track.
Indeed, and I think Yakes got away quite neatly there, not too much time lost. But this trio could be a little bit worse for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he's going to make all these cars again in the twisty section, because here in the main straight, They are passing each other there. Chacon there, but they are coming now to the braking zone. And here is Jakes is very cautious there, but I mean, him waiting for the last moment to be sure of what the car in front was going to do. Sometimes that can be detrimental.
Indeed.
You know, though I should say it's been worse for poor Coxson. No, actually, Coxson has been passed by Canola.
Really?
So
What?
yeah, let's look at that because I think that must have happened there with all the
Coxson
traffic.
outbroke himself in turn 1.
Yeah.
Had to do a 3-point turn to get back going. And that's all the time. All Thiago needed to go past. Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
That's the case. I mean, Coxon went there into the emergency braking area.
Well, we did see that was like 2 laps after 2, 3, maybe 5 laps even after he came out of the pits and Thiago pitted and came out of the pits. Coxon locked up quite considerably.
Whoops, Fitch just spun out of the hairpin.
Looks like he's waiting for traffic, which is a good choice.
As long as he's out of the racing line, it shouldn't be a problem.
Indeed.
There he is reversing.
Well, to reiterate that point, we did see Coxon lock up quite considerably on the left front quite a few laps ago. I wonder if that may have played a part in outbraking himself this time into turn 1.
Yeah, of course, if the tires are destroyed, then it becomes a vicious cycle because you're locking even more, then you're flat spotting them even more, and well, it goes on like that. So 50 laps from 95, we're already past half of the race. And I guess that David Jakes must now starting to think about doing some calculations going on by what he's seeing there behind him. There's Thiago Canola 11 seconds behind him, but he stopped nearly, I would say it was 10 laps after he did. So
give or
Jakes
take a
can
lap
still
or two,
Jakes can still keep his strategy, but he has to do one stop more, same as Thiago. But the difference is that he will be doing it earlier than Thiago, so he will be doing more of the race on heavier fuel load, whereas Thiago will be able to go on a lighter fuel load in clean air while Jakes is in the pits. So I'm wondering what Jake's options are now. I think he will probably just stretch it as much as he can, just in case they got a yellow, and try then to go on from there.
Definitely a possibility. But I'd say one of
Canola exiting the Canola exiting the hairpin now. There's Richard Coxon behind him, although Bruno Chacon is locked between both of them. Let's see if Coxon can dispense with him here in the main straight and down to the braking zone. Yep, he does. Because it would be very important for Coxon here not to lose the train. I mean, Thiago has already enough of an advantage due to having pit later. So if he also has the track position and is in front, that's going to be absolutely destroying for Richard.
Indeed. It's impressive to see that it seems Thiago is able to get that car to go very quickly through the twisty section despite what looked like to be having a very high top speed down the front straight when they were battling, but right now, yeah, it looks like now down to 10 seconds as he goes through the hairpin, obviously dropping a little bit of time on the exit, but it seems like he is currently catching up to Jakes a little bit. Whether obviously Jakes is saving fuel or if it's Thiago actually being able to go a little bit quicker is difficult to say.
So Canola did 285 kilometers per hour top speed there in the main straight. We can watch and see what the others do. But I would be betting that he's running anyway lower wings than the rest are, because that improved fuel consumption, that must have been something related to that.
Mm.
So Jakes is now coming to the hairpin, and we can have a look at what kind of top speed he does have as compared with Thiago. Yeah, well, 270 something, so nearly 10 kilometers per hour slower, I would say, than Thiago. Yeah.
Interesting.
Same for Coxson, yes. So it's definitely a case of low wings for Thiago Canola. And that would also explain the reason why he is able to stretch the stint so much more on fuel.
Indeed, but he.
Obviously, if you are thinking in terms of the whole race, what David Jakes and Richard Coxon are doing, for example, is maximizing the fuel use. I mean, they know they can be quicker on higher wing, they can be safer, and they can pass probably a bit better in the twisty sections. So they basically give up a bit on the fuel consumption in benefit of a setup that has more grip. Whereas Thiago seems to go for a lower wing setup that gives him more flexibility in terms of the pit stops, which is exactly what he has been using so far.
Mm. Well, it's impressive to see that Canola seems to have a very good chassis setup on the car as well, because he's able to, in the slow stuff, be just as quick and even quicker than both Yates and Coxson is in that very twisty infield section. But that being said, now a lapped car in that section in the form of Boss, so that could put a bit of a spanner in the works for Canola. Boss very neatly getting out of the way of both of them. Nicely done, Yua. So, affecting them as little as he possibly can. And I notice now, no, I saw it wrong, but Nilsson in behind Frederickson now, close for battle, if possibly at least. But it looks like everyone else is fairly spread out at this point. So since that's the case, I'm not going to feel too bad about following this battle still, because it is looking to be very interesting indeed.
Yeah, this all will obviously unfold in the later stages of the race. But for Richard Coxon, it is paramount now to be able to gain the track position on Canola and try to put some distance between them. Because Coxon is obviously lighter on fuel, go on more worn tires. And Canola is there very heavily retaining him, because that's basically what he's doing. That's a strategy. And it's absolutely legit, but that's how it goes. I mean, he has low wings, so that on the main straight it's very hard to pass him. And then in the twisty sections, he has at least enough grip to be able to make the car very wide. That's why Coxon is going here for the hairpin. Watch out. Nope. Bit of a leverage there, and let's see what happens now. Better traction for Coxon in the initial stage, but it seems that the gear ratios of Canola are very well set up for giving him that acceleration, and once he kicks in into top speed mode, it's absolutely over.
Indeed, I reckon Coxon will need to pass him up here possibly. Like just send it up the inside into this hairpin-esque
I mean,
turn.
he's eating him in this section because of the higher wings.
Ooh.
Oops! Yeah, too eager on the throttle there. I mean, this is quite telling of what we were saying one moment ago, that Coxon is really, really intending to pass him as soon as possible. Yeah, all this is only helping Jakes go away his own merry way.
Well, you say that, but it's only 10.5 seconds, 11 seconds across the line, so it's not a massive distance between them. Oh, Canola with a bit of a lackluster exit though. What did happen that time? Looks to be running about a second off his optimal pace, or top pace that Canola can run, but then again, from the point he was lapped, it looks like his strategy indeed is one completely different from everyone else.
And Anders is now in front of Frederickson.
Oh, so Anders now has passed Frederickson.
Yep, at some point it happened. I'm not catching it in the replay, but whatever the case, he seems to have taken revenge there somewhere.
Certainly, at least for now. And in terms of livery, by the way, you just realized now it looks a little bit like deja vu for Jacob. I believe he was running the what's it called? I think the 981, the F1 SAG speed entry. That looks like a very similar livery on the 29 in this series. In the form of that machinist's union car.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, looks like Grant is in trouble. His car looks to be crabbing here.
And David Sabre also, he's going very slow there. Oh, he's spinning there. Right before the hairpin. I think he has a puncture. I think David Sabre has a puncture. Probably going to have to, yeah, he's going, well, at least he's not really that far away from the pits. Although with a tire limitation, he might have to put a used tire setup. Here come meanwhile Thiago Canola and Richard Coxson. And Coxson, I think he has the run now. Does he have it? Does he have it? I think he's getting so impatient that he's basically using the boost.
Ooh. Well, he's up inside. It should be maybe decided. No. Oh, he's trying to go around outside, but Canola shuts the door. In what I'd almost say Formula 1 style, but here is Coxson with it. Ooh, was an overlap, but not willing to put the front end of the car up there. Trying to do the cutback here, and then it'll be another cutback through this left-hander.
Yeah, the problem here is if you switch to the cockpit view, I think people will be able, or viewers, to realize how narrow it is when you look at these cars, which are 2 meters wide. It's like everything looks so narrow from the cockpit view.
Exactly, jump on board into the cockpit of Coxson's car once again as he's looking at the rear wing of Canola ahead. To give you another view of how tight this track is, and Grant is definitely struggling with that car. That is definitely a crabbing car, so he'll be in trouble for the rest of the race.
And look at Coxson, how he's stretching there the RPMs.
He's really trying, but...
Yeah, we come here to the twisty section. Here is what Coxson is going to actually eat him up. But it's, I mean, you can see it. I mean, there is place around the car, but there is only a single racing line there, so it's so complicated to really place your car sideways on the side of the other one.
Indeed, and you can see as well that Canola knows it as well. He's just running more or less his own line, and then he knows that as long as he gets the good enough runs out of these slow corners, there's nowhere for Coxson to go.
And it seems to me that Wilkes is stopping there. Oh, okay, he was letting cars by, but I think he's presuming. Coxson now again trying to... No, but I don't think he's going to try anything here, unless he wants to surprise Thiago.
No, I think Jon Team's car gave Canola just a bit of overspeed, and that was that. Wilkes currently 17th, so 5th place in the championship is probably hanging loose here. Probably going to be passed in the championship by someone finishing higher up in this race, based on how
Wilkes
tight the
is in the pits
championship
again.
is. Oh dear. That's unfortunate. Ooh, Coxson again, all sideways coming onto the back straight, but he is really close to Canola now. He might try an out-braking maneuver. Oh, actually stays behind, strikes, like scrapes along the barrier and stays behind.
So here they come to Brian Janik now. Maybe this is the opportunity that Coxson is looking for.
Ooh, maybe not. Oh, dearie me.
Oops.
I don't think Brian saw Coxson there.
Well, he basically had no other option.
No, indeed,
He
but I
could
think
not vanish in the air, so...
No, but I think had he seen Coxson behind Canola, he might have waited until both of them had gone through that right-hander, but instead he continued to try and take his line, and then immediately noticed, oh God, that's not a car I want to have behind me right now, and just took the escape road to make sure he got out of the way. Oh, Coxson early into the pits again, so he's definitely breaking it up into 3 pretty much even stints here. Possibly.
Yeah, and let's see what Jakes does, because he's now boxed behind Frederickson, who is making room for him. But I don't think he's gaining any more time, and he's signaling pits now. He's signaling pits. So with 10 seconds advantage, this should be routinary for him. And, well, with 64 laps, which is going to be 65 when he crosses the finish line, that's, I would say that's really looking well for him.
Yeah, that's definitely doable. Unfortunately, Richard Wilkes has decided to retire the car. So that's...
Yeah, too much damage, likely.
Yeah.
Coxson is out of the pits now.
Let's see whether Jakes heads in this time then.
Jakes is, I think he's going to, why risk it? I mean,
he does.
Yes, he's in for the pits. And let's see if this is a normal pit stop or if there is anything else going on there.
And looks like Canola is going to continue, so he is headstrong, going for as long as he can here. As you have, Bose has retired as well from this race. So another one who's been in the wars today, and
wait a moment. Where is Thiago? Okay, he's in front. He's 7 seconds in front now.
So that's a blown engine for Johan, so the engine breakages have begun.
So Jakes exits pits now.
Well in ahead of Coxson.
Goes by the pit entry.
And that's probably going to be 5-6 seconds by the time Jakes' tires are up to temperature.
Yeah, meanwhile, Canola just passed the tunnel at the Art Center. And he's in the backstretch. Yeah, I mean, right now, Coxson probably not that far behind Jakes. Well, he's let me check that. No, he's 14 seconds actually. I think it's not worse than what it was before.
More or less similar. Yeah, maybe a couple of more seconds behind.
Yes.
It's going to be very interesting to see what is going to happen here with Canola as well.
Yep, that different strategy that he's doing. I mean, it's going to be confusing as hell towards the end, because he's going to be, like I say, going for minimal splash and dash. Change tires, maybe. I mean, maybe he should. I mean, I know from Wilkes that if you are in for the pit stop, the general rule is that you should be changing the tires, because it's not as if you're going to be on the same lap times or whatever if you don't change them. But in desperate situations, you could leave with the worn tires if needed. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think it'll be a question of, does he have another new set waiting for him in there? If he does, he's probably likely to take new tires. I noticed Nilsson was under attack from Frederickson there, as they had both let Yates past, but looks like Nilsson was able to weather that storm and remains in 5th. Jon Tim still in 7th, Ray Riddle still in 8th, Brian Yannick still in 9th, so really good run for the Penske racing entry here tonight. Oh no, Francisco Amaral has just gone off on the right-hander after the back straight. Oh, that looks like that's going to be a retirement. That's really unfortunate. Oh,
yeah, he's three-wheeling it there.
Yeah, pulling off the racing line to let traffic past, and then try to run it to the pit lane at least to make it a shorter distance for crews to move the car. So that means Dave Miller may very well go back up into the top 10 here.
Whoops, and Oscar Tim without the front wing moving there out of the racing line for the leader.
So Oscar
Tim Ridal now with a very, very sketchy car is signaling for pits. Maybe it's time for him to go in. And my goodness, that is nearly a rally car the way he's driving. Very Michael Andretti-ish.
Yeah, for sure. But that is... I definitely wouldn't want to be behind the wheel of that car as it looks to be handling right now. That is looking like a very unpleasant car to drive.
Tires were shot and he is now in for the pits.
Yep. Well, considering the race is more or less settled, at least for another few laps here, let's bring up the trivia question and the answer to the trivia question as we're looking at everything going on. So to remind you of the question for you this evening were: who came home 4th in the 1987 Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, despite losing his right front wing at the start, and then having difficulty with his left front wing later in the race? Was it A. Al Unser Jr.? Was it B. Michael Andretti? Or was it C. Rick Mears? Any guesses on this one, Alberto?
I think I will refrain from giving the answer because I nearly memorized that broadcast when looking for cues for the track, so I'm not going to say it.
I see.
I'm just going to say that the way he lost the front wing was against a pile of cones, the ones that you see against the pit exit, at the pit exit. Yeah.
Well, that sounds about right. I mean, those are more or less I wouldn't. It's not quite called stapled, but they are like forced into the ground. I'd assume they work like the sort of like the pole, the like plastic / rubber poles that go up to like signify where the limit of the road is, where they to a certain extent can be moved over, like mowed down, and then go back up again. Anyway, the correct answer to this question is B. Michael Andretti, the Craco Racing entry that Grant Vidal is racing this evening. So congratulations, BL, on getting the answer right.
So it was, if I remember correctly, in the first lap when they were coming to the braking zone, right after the start was given. Michael was going for the inside, and he went to the inside too much, so he rammed that row of cones. He lost the right front wing on the process. And even if he was like, well, I'm not saying happy, but he was saying that he could continue later and he had more trouble down the road and all that. So yeah, even so, he did a great job and he came in fourth, I think.
Indeed. Yeah, he finished it fourth
and
indeed. Yeah.
not coincidentally, that's the position that Grant Ridal is holding right now after his mishaps at the beginning of the race.
Indeed, and with what looks to be a very similarly ill-handling car as well, at least before the pit stops. And it looks like
yeah,
it's still
even if we
crabbing
have
a
now
bit.
that, even if we have now that number 44 Chip Robinson car in the lead in the hands of Thiago Canola, at least it seems that the rest is more or less spot on.
Definitely so. Oh, Canola looks like he has had a spin.
Does he?
I think so. That looked like a very slow getaway. Yeah, he span. He ran in a bit too fast into the right-hander after the back straight and effectively said, I'll just snap it around and gas it up to keep it off the wall. And
Oh, and I think I see one engine smoking there in the front straight. That seems to be Ridal, I guess, the Chevy engine.
oh, I hope not. Yeah,
He's
that
right
is
behind Canola
smoking.
now, and
Yeah.
when he's accelerating, there is a puff of smoke coming from behind.
That's not nice. That's the premature signs of an engine that is soon to expire.
So whatever the case, we were talking about Canola having had that spin, and even if he is a very mathematical driver, so to speak, he's very rational, and the way he prepares the races and he hammers the lap down, I think that he basically has been too optimistic with the tires, because that seems to me, because he was driving on his own, not in any fight, that the tires are absolutely giving up the ghost now. And he's probably still looking for that elusive yellow, but he should better be thinking about the moment he should be coming in.
Oh, Grant Ridal has hit the barrier hard.
Yep.
Rear wing and suspension damaged. Looks like he's parking the car. He is indeed. So again, same place he hit the barrier before the pit stop by the looks of things. Oh no, that's very strange. Oof. Well, unfortunately, that's a retirement for Grant, so that means Nilsson up into 4th and Frederickson up into 5th. So everything happening in the last 20-25 laps of this race.
Yeah, we had already mentioned the fact that engines were not necessarily going to live through the whole race. Let's see. And it would surprise me very much if Thiago has problems with the engine, because he's very cautious with that thing. But as we have seen, the tires might cause some surprises here.
I believe with the lead he had, he would probably been able to pit and get out in front, but now with the 22-23 seconds, I'm not entirely sure, so it'll be interesting to see as well how big of a gap can he get out before he has to pit for the splash in a new set of tires. Unless obviously there's yellow, but then he's in the trouble of very old tires versus not so old tires for the cars behind.
So he pit previously on lap 42, which means he should be lapping about lap 84 this time. That would be stretching the tank as much as he did the previous time. And, well, that would mean just a very quick sprint to the green flag. 10 laps. And yeah, I think his strategy was based on maybe getting a yellow, because in that case he would not have to stop. And in this situation he will have to stop. And before that spin he had
31 seconds lead. I think he had
like I was
by
saying, tight, but maybe the margin enough to be able to stay in the lead or fight for the win after coming out of his pit stop. But now it's not such a clear cut. I mean, even if he goes out on fresh tires and with the fuel that he needs to finish the race, he could very well be 10 seconds or something like that, 10 second-ish behind David Jakes, and with only 10 laps to go. So that seems quite a tall order.
Indeed, as Yannick gets out of the way there. Very clearly showing that, after you, please.
I can see that Coxson has been catching up nicely with Jakes. There's only 5-6 seconds now between them, compared to the, I think it was 14 we saw when they were coming out of the pits. Which is probably more indicating of Jakes taking it easy things than of Coxson really being able to make that much of a huge difference.
Or a combination of both, I suppose.
Whatever the case, Iago must now, I mean, he's not really in that much of advantage situation as one could think, because he still has to do that pit stop. It won't suffice, as we have said, and running now as he's on very old tires, if he makes any error, any other spin or anything like we saw before, then he's toast. I mean, both Coxson and Jakes will easily overtake him. So he needs to be very precise on his driving and very careful.
Indeed. And
he has been very quick in the previous laps, 1.6 something all the time, constantly, which seems to indicate that he's happy with the car. It was down to 115 in the lap where he did that spin. That's the one that interrupted his progression. But yeah, nevertheless, no errors at all permitted now.
No, indeed. And as you say, the line for what is a mistake and isn't is becoming thinner and thinner.
And meanwhile, Coxson has cut down nearly another full second between him and Jakes. It's 4 seconds now.
Ooh. Well, we know Canola has to stop, so let's actually jump back and have a look at Coxson and how much closer he can get to Jakes here. It looks like again late in the stint, Coxson's car is working better, or later in the stint, Coxson's car is working better than Jakes. I wonder, could it be so simple as to where the weight of the fuel is slightly messing with Coxson's aero that suits better when the weight is off and the car can be a bit more stable on its 4 contact points.
And there's David Sabre now right behind Bruno Chacon. He's trying to make a pass. It's on the standings not for position, but just because Grant Bridal is in the middle of both, but Grant obviously retired, which means that if David Sabre can pass Bruno Chacon, at some point when he has done more laps than Grant Bridal, he will all of a sudden be 2 positions ahead.
Well, unfortunately for Sabre, he's 2 laps behind Chacon at the moment, so... but there he goes, that Chevy engine looks to be pulling him past, and it does. So now one more lap he needs to get back on Chacon, and then he'll be on the same lap and with a chance of taking the position away.
All right, sorry. I was fooled by the simple track position.
Easily done, easily done. Oh, looks like Jakes may have picked up a little bit of pace. Or some lap traffic getting in the way of Coxson, but the difference has gone up.
Because Yeah, the distance is nearly the same, 4.5 seconds as it was before. Depends on the part of the track, obviously. Canola seems to be stretching the lead a bit. It's 25 seconds instead of 23. But still, I mean, his plan is not yet working because he needs a bit more to be ahead in the last pit stop. We're on lap 80 right now, so not a lot until Thiago Canola needs to stop.
No, indeed. Well, we can be fairly sure that he'll do everything in his power to find as much pace as possible in this last few laps, and then we'll simply have to see how the domino bricks falls in this battle of brains.
No pun intended with the domino car of Jake's.
Nope. I can't help they came up with that kind of name for a pizza making business.
Probably referring to the portions.
Yeah, probably. I mean, considering generally whenever you buy American pizza, at least in Sweden it is square blocks, so in that regard I suppose it makes sense.
Little Al, who is very, very science oriented, he has very good marks in maths and physics. That's the thing that he absolutely loves because he wants to be an engineer. And he was telling me a joke the other day about the pizzas. He said, it's about the only thing in the world that you get served on a square box, but it is rounded. However, it is eaten in triangles.
Well, you can eat it in triangles. You can also eat it with your fork and knife if you wish. Or you can do what some savages do and roll it up into a sort of, I suppose the closest thing would be like a burrito or something.
Well, they have the calzone pizza there, which is actually a close one. But I think unless we get the official version here from Gabriele del Piccolo or any of the Italian friends, Beta should be refraining from saying anything that we could regret later regarding eating pizza or whatever.
Quite so, quite so. I'm just basing it off what I've seen people do.
Yeah, exactly, because I know as a Spaniard, especially from Valencia, that I've seen such wild things done that were called paella or eaten as such that it was like, oh Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
So I better not joke around with the typical food of other countries.
Well, I'll simply put it.
Anyway, another second for Canola. It's up to 27 now. And I think he's basically realizing very much the same thing that we were talking here about, that he needs to stretch that lead as much as he can because it's going to be really tight towards the end of the race. He's going to have to stop. I don't think that he's going to make it by any means with a single pit stop, especially not with the pace that he's having. And
Ooh.
he got out of shape and hit there. I mean, that's quite telling. I mean, it's 83 laps for him, so he should be coming in the next one. His tires are absolutely shot. All the efforts that he is doing to keep them going and try to make a decent lap and not lose too much, they are just basically turning into the car being really scary.
Based on the pace now, he needs to pit this lap. Based on what he's losing out on this lap, so...
Yeah, the tires have absolutely fallen down a cliff now.
Yeah, it's interesting, that aspect. Let's see if he does pit. Oh dear, he doesn't. That is brave. That is so brave. Well, brave or...
Desperate.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, he maybe thinks, okay, he's in Nalin pits now for the next lap. But I was thinking, maybe he thinks that he can do it. I don't think so. I don't believe for a second that he can do it. Not on a single pit stop. There's still 10 laps to go, nearly. And, well, yeah, 10 laps when he goes into the pits. That will be the case. And with 24 seconds, I mean, he's going to fall into the clutches of Jakes. But watch out, because Coxson is only 2 seconds behind him. Well, 3 seconds at this point, 2 point something, 3. Jakes is now boxed behind Brian Janik, who's making room.
And Coxson will be praying that Yannick sees him and lets him by here. He does. Nicely done,
Yeah,
Brian.
okay,
Good
so
job.
Big gaps here, but this could very well become drama towards the end of the race. Here comes Canola. Here comes Canola. I think he's going for the pits now. Yes, he's in.
Oh, Coxson with a big loose coming onto the back straight. That loses him about a second to Yakes.
So Jakes is now on the chicane. He's hampered a bit by a lapped car. Canola still in the pits. Canola now exiting. He's accelerating as hard as he can.
I think Canola will be ahead. Yep, he'll be ahead.
There he comes.
He's got about 7 seconds now. Obviously some cold tires, but I think he'll have about 3-4 seconds to gap of a lead here, as his tires will be up to temperature.
That was basically the advantage of having to do only this plus and dash. I mean, he didn't need to top the fuel. And let's see how it goes, because I don't know. Those are likely. Will that be worn tires?
I suppose we'll have to wait and see, but based on the time he's losing, that looks to be cold tires. 4 seconds the difference now. And about 3.5 down to Coxson behind Yakes. With 9 laps to go as they cross the start-finish line here.
Jakes there coming sideways out of the chicane. He's really desperate there. He knows that the plot is now thickening, that Canola has done his own pit stop, and that whatever he needs to do to win the race, he needs to do it on the track. There's no strategy anymore here. It's all-out battle between both of them.
When using all the road. Your words definitely ringing true. He's using all the road and then some. Basically scraping paint off his tires on the barriers here, gaining 1.5 seconds in this opening half of the lap. Wow. Oh no! Yakes hits the inside of the hairpin. Half spin and Coxson goes past.
There you go. Slightest error and it can be a disaster. He had been already coming out sideways of the chicane, which hinted to him overdriving a bit the car, maybe too hot tires there. And in the end, he was, I think maybe he was confused a bit by what the lap car was doing. And of course, Coxson was absolutely there, ready to capitalize from the issues.
Indeed, but both of them still faster than Canola that lap. In a bit of a lapped car situation here, but that loses the Coxson a tiny bit of time, but looks to be okay. Ooh.
Jake's there. I mean, he really had trouble there trying to gauge what the lap car was doing to make room for him. Thiago out there in front, but I think that both Coxson and Jakes, I mean, they are not even thinking about Thiago now.
Probably not.
Whatever is there left in the engines, in the tanks, that's going to be used up here. Right now and here.
Definitely so. Coxson now gotten back the time he lost down the front straight, so Canola doing a great job making time. And now David Miller with pretty much nowhere to go here. Ooh, yep, nowhere to go to let Coxson by. And that's another loss of time for Coxson. And that's the main problem with running a car that needs a lot of pace through the twisty stuff. When you get traffic and there's no way for them to let you by, it can cost you a whole heap of time. So I believe with that, it's possible that Canola has to win zone up as long as he doesn't make a mistake of his own. Because it's 6 laps to go, I think, including this lap. And the difference is 7 seconds.
Yeah, so it's right now the action is, whoa, Jake's locking there. The action is between Jakes and Coxson now. Barring any error. Oh, Jake's there.
Ooh.
He was really pushing it there. Those tires are really hot there. Oh, he clipped the barrier on the inside. Well, that's not exactly a driving error.
That's Sabre, I think.
That was basically that with the tires being so hot and you arriving to a different speed to the corner. I mean, you are used to entering much more closer to the wall, and you get now even closer than you were expecting. But now he will likely be taking it a bit easy, at least letting the tires cool down for 1 lap and then try to be on it again.
Well, speaking of the time, Coxson just gained 1.5 seconds on Canola that lap, so Coxson is flying. So there's still a slight...
I think that's simply a case of Canola taking it easy.
Could be, but I mean, he can't take it too easy because then they'll catch him still.
Well, it's 5 laps to go. Let's see what happens.
Indeed. It looks like Yates has indeed more or less... At least, looks like he's taking it a tad bit easy. He's definitely trying, but I mean, compared to what he was doing a few laps ago, it looks like he's a bit more taking it a little bit easier.
Well, in terms of championship points, it's obvious that Richard Coxson has more of a need than Jakes to score points. So Coxson needs to take more risks here than Jakes. And Jakes is probably just going to pull down the tires and try to make an effort towards the end.
Indeed.
4 seconds to Thiago. Well, maybe you're right, indeed. I mean, he's not so safe as one could suppose. I mean, fuel could be the fuel, but I don't know. He probably put in the splash and dash all that he needed, and
it's definitely going to be tight, this, no matter what.
It's 4.4 seconds now on the clock in this twisty section.
Yeah,
and
we
Coxson
know
is really coming close. Oh! Thiago's really going slow here.
Yeah, we know Coxson is a lot faster through this section than what Canola are with the low wings.
I think the key here, 3.7 seconds. Okay, I think the key here is that probably Thiago is on very warm tires. I'm betting that these are the tires that he used for his qualifying lap, the one he got the pole.
Ooh, you could be right.
So that's likely the issue here. I mean, not the fuel, not the driving. It's just that those tires were too much used up in the qualifying. 3.5 seconds. Yeah. Oh,
with 3 laps to go.
Down to the wire.
Oh dear, this is going to be so close. This is fantastic. This is like, what is it, 145-ish miles? 147 miles now, and it's all coming down to this. Like a roughly 10 miles, not even that, 5-mile sprint towards the end of the race.
Less than 3 seconds.
Ooh.
Well, it depends on the part of the track. Now it's a bit higher, but still. I mean, there is a visual. Coxson can clearly see the car of Thiago in front. Although the laps are following one after another, so let's see what happens if this suffices. I'm betting that if it's worn tires, here is the point where Thiago is going to suffer more, here accelerating out of the chicane. Yeah, here on the main stretch, the speed differential increases because of the low wings that he's using, and he did a very quick lap this last time, 1:6.4. So it's not as he is not able to go quicker. Yeah, he's definitely struggling in this section. I mean, in the quick one, he can still make it and fly away, but here he's suffering a lot more.
Indeed, but he's more or less been able to stabilize it, so it is 3.5 seconds probably-ish as they cross the finish line.
I think that he's increasing the boost in the main straights. He's using all that he has in the engine at this point, because there is like the big difference. I mean, it was right below 3 seconds when they were exiting the chicane, and it's now 3.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 4, and that's when he's braking. I mean, it's nearly a full second in the main straight that he's putting on Wilson Jakes.
Yep, and final lap it is here. So I think unless Canola makes a mistake, it's his win here tonight. And what a splendid strategic masterpiece is put up here, if that is to be the case.
It's not coming to a lap car, but that shouldn't be a problem.
Now you can really see that he is struggling with understeer.
Yeah.
But only 2 turns to go. Final turn into the hairpin he goes. And looks like he survives it, and as long as the engine holds up for halfway down the straight, he will take the win. So coming towards the finish line, Tiago Canola with a masterpiece of a strategy takes the win here tonight at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Wowee. So Tiago Canola takes the win. Richard Coxson finishes second. David Yates will finish third, with Anders Nilsson with a splendid drive for Vince Granatelli finishing fourth here. Jakob Frederickson looking to be finishing fifth, as he is coming out of the hairpin now to head towards the start-finish line. There he goes. And a little bit further back still is Jonatan, who I think will be classified in 6th no matter what happens to him here. So a very nice drive from Jon in the Machinists Union entry. Brian Yannick finishes 7th in the Penske. That's an absolutely fantastic drive in that rough handling car.
It's certainly much better than the retirement that Danny Sullivan suffered in real life driving that car.
Indeed. Dave Miller finishes 8th for Los Angeles drywall race entry. That is a very good one-off drive from him. Luciano Roja finishes 9th for Dick Simon Racing. Oscar Thiem runs out the top 10 for Newman Teamworks. Very nice drive from him. Jason Fitch finishes 11th for Gore Racing. Brun Chacon would have finished 12th for Dick Simon. David Saber finishes 13th for Patrick Racing. Francisco Amaral, I think, will have finished in 14th. Then we had the retirees of Grant Riddle, Ray Riddle, Juha Bose, Jason Whited, Richard Wilkes, Alberto Quino, Kyle Vesa, Adam Hackman, Kyle McKeels, Jan Kowalski, Jason White, Cesar Shlapinski, and Mateus da Silva. But what a race that turned out to be, just as exciting as we thought it would be.
Yep, it was really, really great. It's a shame that some people were not fortunate, but, well, in all, it was a good race. So I'm going to leave you now. I don't know if you will have some interviews, but if not, see you on the next time. Always great to be here. Always a pleasure. And we'll see us for Indy now. Bye.
Well, Alberto,
User left your channel.
Thank you very much to Alberto Ibanez, who joined me for this race on color commentary. Very thankful for that, and
Channel created.
very much a very interesting race, that one.
User joined your channel.
And we are now joined by the master tactician for this race, I would dare to say. Thiago Canola, congratulations on the win.
Ah, man, thank you, Jonathan. That was tough. That was really tough. I had so many brain farts during this one too. I hit the wall just before my pit stop, and I got some misalignment in the car, and I was just thinking, oh, that's all gone now. I don't think I can manage to the end, and it worked. I just had to be patient and stick to the strategy that I had planned initially, and it worked. I'm pretty happy, very happy.
Yeah, that was very interesting to watch. You got the lead early on in the race, but you say that it was planned from the beginning to do the long run. So was that just you having like lower wings and able to run very fast down the straight that kept you in the lead for a while in the early part of the race, or how did that transpire for you?
Yeah, pretty much what you just said. I went for a low drag strategy, and my intention was just to
User
keep
joined your channel.
keep the RPMs low and try to defend. That's why I pushed a lot in the turn one against the Grand, because I knew I had to keep the lead to try to make the strategy work. And by doing that with the low drag, I think I used less fuel and I could stretch at least I think 1 or 2 laps more than normal stint with full tank. So I was heavier the whole stint since the beginning as well. That was also a problem because everybody was lighter than me. So that's how the low wing helped me as well. Heavier car, but still kept the top speed. Yeah, was pretty interesting. I'm curious to watch the broadcast.
It was a very interesting race all the way through. As opposed to finally, I'm just going to quickly double check that it is the next round coming up that I think it is. So yeah, next up is the first of the Triple Crown events, the 71st Indianapolis 500. Back to ovals after having 3 straight road courses or street circuits. How do you rate your chances at Indianapolis?
Yeah, it will be very different. I have no idea how these cars will behave in that track compared to the past seasons we raced there. But yeah, I think again I have just to try to find a decent pace. I wasn't the fastest today, but I just had to keep my head down, and probably I'll try to do the same next time in Indy.
Sounds like as good a plan as any. Again, congratulations on the win.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for the broadcast.
You're welcome, mate. We're also joined in the broadcast booth by good old Richard Coxson, finished second here tonight. Congratulations, Richard. Happy with that, or did you feel like there could have been a little bit more coming out of this race tonight?
No. I'll take second place any day of the week against this bunch of people.
That's fair. Um, trying to remember, a lot of stuff happened in this race. You had quite a long-running battle with David Yates all the way through the race. Was that something you expected, or was it more like a happy coincidence that you were able to have some racing, like wheel-to-wheel racing, going on at the same time as the long haul was going on?
I think it was just a case of my
User
car
left your
was
channel.
very good in the first sector and the infield section, but then on the straights, both David and Tiago seemed to have the legs on me. Two places you can overtake, so but yeah, just it was a good race. I enjoyed it. It were a very tough race. But yeah, really enjoyed that one, and I'm thrilled with second.
Yeah, speaking of the toughness of this, we
User
had some
joined your
drivers
channel.
complaining about how bumpy the track was. Was that a problem for you as well, or did you find a way to like deal with that?
Into turn one and at the end of the back straight, it was quite bumpy. But for me, it was just a case brake a little earlier and a little more gentle, just to try and prevent the wheels locking.
Hmm.
That's all you can do, really. Just try your best to combat the bumps. It's part and parcel of a street circuit, and it's part of the challenge.
Definitely so. And I suppose just finally, Indianapolis coming up next, with second and back on form here tonight. How do you rate your chances going into that 500-mile challenge?
I'll say the same way I've said to every time I've talked to you. I'll aim for top 5. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I mean, it's hard. I mean, Tiago's more than likely going to pick a car up. You've got David Yates, you've got Vadim. We saw briefly what oval racing's like at Phoenix. I know it's a completely different type of track, but and Wilkes, I'm sure he'll be quick round there. There's a whole host of people. If we get the look and the car together, we could have 5+ cars fighting for the win. It'll be a really tough race. I imagine fuel won't be a big thing. It'll be more about controlling the engine temperatures around there. So we'll see how it goes, but top 5 is what I'll be aiming for.
It'll be interesting to watch either way. Thank you very much to both of you for joining me for the after race broadcast, and congratulations once again on second, Richard, and first for you, Tiago. Let's see, before we cap off the broadcast, we have next weekend, the next race in the 1958 F1 Championship coming up. It, as far as I'm aware, won't be broadcast, but it is going to take place next weekend. The 44th Grand Prix de Laziev. I'm not French, so I probably butchered that, but it takes place around Reims. So that's going to be high speeds, hard braking zones, and probably some various thrills and spills. If it's anything like the 80s Reims that I had a pleasure to drive on previously in sim racing, it is going to be barriers quite close to the road, so a lot of scary moments on that track. It's very high speed. And I believe the next event after that would probably be the 78 DRMs in 2 or 3 weeks' time. But either way, we'll be back broadcasting next time when a race is on and we have time, people, and capacity to do so. But until then, thank you very much for tuning in and watching this race. I hope you had as much fun as me and Alberto had watching and talking about this race. But until next time, take care of yourselves, have a great week, and good night.